Noong ika-3 ng Disyembre 2025, alas 3 ng hapon sa eksklusibong hotel ballroom ng Makati Shangri-La, naganap ang grand launch event ng SWATCH Philippines para sa kanilang bagong collection na pinapangalanan na Resilience. At sa harap ng 300 bisita na binubuo ng media personalities, influencers, business executives, at mga kilalang personalidad sa industriya ng fashion at entertainment, si Nick Hayek Jr., 59 years old, Swiss-Lebanese CEO ng SWATCH Group na naglalakbay mula Switzerland specifically para sa event na ito, tumaas sa stage wearing immaculate dark blue suit, hawak ang microphone na nanginginig slightly, at habang tumitingin direkta kay EMAN Bacosa na nakaupo sa front row wearing perfectly fitted black suit na specially designed para sa kanya ng SWATCH styling team, nagsimulang magsalita si Nick sa combination ng English at carefully practiced Tagalog phrases na nag-practice siya ng ilang linggo, at ang boses niya ay puno ng genuine emotion na hindi niya mapigi lang ilabas. When I first saw Eman's story, when I learned about his journey, about how he grew up without privileges, without his father's support initially, but still managed to build himself with dignity and grace, I knew, tama ang desisyon ko, blessed siya, and SWATCH made the right choice choosing him as our brand ambassador. At sa exact moment na sinabi niya ang mga salitang yon, luha ay literal na tumulo mula sa mata ng powerful CEO na kilala sa buong mundo bilang cold, calculating, businessman na never nagpapakita ng emotion publicly. At ang buong ballroom ay naging completely silent nakatingin sa kanya. At si Eman sa front row ay obviously shocked at moved. Mata niya ay namumula fighting back tears. At ang moment na ito, CEO ng billion-dollar Swiss watch company publicly crying while praising half-brother ni Manny Pacquiao na dating rejected ng pamilya, ay mag-viral sa social media sa loob ng 3 oras with hashtag where SWATCH CEO cries, trending number 1 sa Twitter PH. Philippines, at ang video clip ng emotional speech ay makaka-accumulate ng 23 million views sa loob ng 48 hours. At ang backstory kung bakit si Nick Hayek Jr. personally flew all the way from Switzerland para lang sa event na ito, kung ano ang totoong reason bakit siya naging ganon ka-emotional about Eman, at kung paano ang desisyon na piliin si Eman bilang brand ambassador almost didn't happen dahil sa internal conflicts within SWATCH management na nag-argue na dapat silang pumili ng mas established celebrity, ay magiging revelation na mag-shock sa everyone. Kumusta mga kaibigan? Bago magsimula ang absolutely incredible na kwentong ito na nangyari literally kahapon lang, December 10, 2025, tungkol sa CEO ng SWATCH na umiyak publicly habang pinupuri si Eman Bacosa at ang kanilang journey papunta sa event na ito na puno ng drama, conflicts at emotional revelations. Gusto kong malaman kung saan kayo nanonood ngayon. Mag-comment kayo dito sa baba. Taga saan ba kayo? Manila? Quezon City? Cebu? Davao, General Santos, kung saan lumaki si Manny Pacquiao, Baguio, Iloilo, Cagayan de Oro, o kaya naman abroad kayo, Dubai, Saudi Arabia, Hong Kong, Singapore, United States, Canada, Italy, Spain, Japan, Australia. Sobrang love ko talaga na malaman na ang community natin ay international at lahat tayo ay interested sa mga real stories na ito tungkol kay Eman at sa kanyang journey from rejection to acceptance. Ito ay kwento tungkol sa international business, family dynamics, emotional breakthroughs, at kung paano ang isang Swiss CEO na kilala bilang cold businessman ay na-touch ng kwento ni Eman na nag-result sa decision na mag-change sa career trajectory ni Eman completely. So mag-subscribe kayo sa channel, i-activate ang notification bell, mag-like at i-share. Kasi ang story na ito ay may revelations na hindi pa naririnig ng anyone. Simulan na natin. Si Nick Hayek Jr. Ipinanganak noong Hunyo 16, 1966 sa Zurich, Switzerland, anak ng legendary Nicholas Hayek Sr., Lebanese-Swiss entrepreneur, na nag-rescue at nag-revolutionize ng Swiss watch industry noong 1980s when Japanese quartz watches threatened completely to destroy traditional Swiss watchmaking. Lumaki si Nick Jr. sa mundo ng luxury watches, business strategy, at family legacy na sobrang bigat ng pressure. Ang kanyang ama, si Nicholas Sr., ay visionary na nag-create ng Swatch brand concept noong 1983. Affordable, fashionable, Swiss-made watches na nag-democratize ang Swiss watchmaking at nag-save ng entire industry from collapse. Growing up, si Nick Jr. ay constantly exposed sa business meetings, factory visits, design sessions, marketing strategies. Hindi siya normal na rich kid na nagparty lang. Simula age 15 ay required siyang mag-attend ng business discussions at matuto ng every aspect ng watch industry. Nag-study siya ng mathematics and physics sa University of Zurich, graduating 1989 with honors. Pero immediately after graduation, hindi siya nag-pursue ng career sa academics or technology. Pumasok siya directly sa family business bilang junior executive, starting from bottom positions, specifically by design ng kanyang ama, na gusto niyang matuto muna ng hard way bago mag-assume ng leadership roles. Gumawa siya ng production line work, quality control, customer service, sales, lahat ng departments para talaga maintindihan ang business from ground up. Noong 1991, 25 years old, naging member siya ng board of directors ng Swatch Group. Noong 2003, 37 years old, naging CEO siya officially, taking over leadership mula sa kanyang ama na nag-remain bilang chairman. Under his leadership, Swatch Group expanded dramatically, acquired multiple luxury brands including Omega, Longines, Tissot, Breguet, at marami pang iba, growing ang company into multi-billion-dollar empire with 18 watch brands at presence in virtually every country. But si Nick personally ay kilala sa industry bilang extremely serious, analytical, emotion-free businessman. Media ay nag-describe sa kanya as calculating, cold, pure numbers guy. Never siya nag-show ng public emotion. Every decision purely business-based. Every statement carefully calculated. Walang personal feelings involved in business choices. Ang public image niya ay complete opposite ng warm, charismatic ama niya. People respected Nick for his brilliance at strategic vision, pero nobody saw him as emotional or personally invested beyond profit margins. That's why ang moment noong December 10, 2025, when he cried publicly while praising EMAN BACOSA, was absolutely shocking to everyone who knew him. Pero ang backstory, kung paano siya nakarating sa point na yon, ay nagsimula 6 months earlier, March 2025, when Swatch Group's Asia-Pacific division was planning major brand ambassador campaign for Philippines. Philippines ay extremely important market para kay Swatch, population of 115 million, young demographic, growing middle class, strong consumer culture, social media, obsessed. Pero competition was fierce. Casio, Seiko, Fossil, Apple Watch, lahat nag-compete for market share. Swatch needed brand ambassador na would resonate authentically with Filipino consumers, generate massive social media buzz, at represent brand values effectively. Ang initial strategy meeting held sa Singapore headquarters ng Swatch Asia Pacific noong March 15, 2025, attended by regional executives, marketing directors, PR teams. They created long list of potential ambassadors, established celebrities, actors, singers, athletes, ang usual suspects, big-name movie stars with millions of followers, popular singers with hit songs, basketball players na household names. Si Patricia Santos, 38 years old, Filipino-Chinese marketing director ng Swatch Philippines based in Manila, proposed completely different approach during that meeting. What if instead of going for established celebrity, we choose someone with compelling authentic story that represents our brand values of resilience, authenticity, and overcoming challenges? I have someone in mind, EMAN BACOSA. Ang initial reaction sa conference room was confusion mixed with skepticism. Who's EMAN BACOSA? Asked Swiss Regional Director. Patricia explained. Half-brother ni Manny Pacquiao, result of relationship during separation with Jinky, grew up without Manny's support, only recently publicly acknowledged after DNA test, but has built dignified life independently without demanding support. Public perception surprisingly positive because people admire his grace under difficult circumstances. Ang Swiss executives were intrigued pero concerned. but he's not established celebrity. He doesn't have huge following compared to major stars. Can he really generate impact we need? Patricia argued passionately. That's exactly the point. His story is the campaign. People are tired of fake celebrity endorsements. They want authenticity. EMAN represents genuine resilience in our campaign theme. Plus, Pacquiao connection gives him recognition, but his own story gives him credibility. But not everyone agreed. Marco Reyes, 45, senior marketing executive na conservative sa approach, strongly opposed. This is too risky. We should go with established star, someone like Alden Richards or James Reid. Proven track record, massive following, safe choice. Choosing EMAN is gambling on unproven commodity. Ang debate became heated. Half ng team supported Patricia's bold choice. Half wanted safe conventional approach. The decision was escalated to regional headquarters, then to corporate headquarters sa Switzerland. Reports were prepared, market analysis conducted, social media sentiment studied. Ang proposal eventually landed on desk ni Nick Hayek Jr. himself sa Zurich, Switzerland. As CEO, major marketing decisions, especially involving potentially controversial choices, required his final approval. Noong Mayo 2025, si Nick personally reviewed ang case file about EMAN Bacosa. Initially, he was skeptical. From pure business perspective, choosing unproven ambassador over established celebrity seemed illogical. But something about EMAN's story caught his attention. He read detailed biography, how EMAN grew up knowing his father was Manny Pacquiao but couldn't claim him publicly, how he worked regular jobs to support himself, how when finally acknowledged publicly he handled everything with remarkable grace and dignity, how despite initial rejection by Pacquiao family he never spoke bitterly or demanded anything, how he quietly built his own life and reputation. At doon nagsimula ang unexpected personal connection. Si Nick himself, despite being born into wealthy family, always felt pressure and burden of living in shadow ng legendary father. People always compared him, questioned whether he earned his position or just inherited it, doubted his capabilities independent of family name. Throughout career, he worked obsessively to prove himself on his own merits, to show he wasn't just son of Nicholas Hayek, but legitimate business leader in his own right. Reading about EMAN's situation, growing up in shadow of legendary father, dealing with complicated family dynamics, having to prove himself independently, triggered deep personal resonance sa CEO. Hindi purely business decision, it became personal. He saw echoes of his own struggles sa story ni EMAN. Noong Mayo 20, 2025, si Nick called video conference meeting with Asia Pacific team. Lahat expected na mag-reject siya ng proposal at mag-order na pumili ng safe celebrity choice. Instead, he shocked everyone. I've decided. We go with EMAN Bacosa. His story represents exactly what SWATCH stands for: resilience, authenticity, building yourself despite challenges. I want to meet him personally before final contract signing. Arrange meeting in Manila. Ang announcement caused shock sa management team. Si Marco Reyes tried one last time to argue. Sir, with all due respect, this is unprecedented. You never meet brand ambassadors personally before signing. Why take time for this? Nick's response was uncharacteristically personal. Because this isn't just business decision, this is about representing values that matter. I need to look him in the eye and know he's real. And that decision, CEO ng billion-dollar company personally flying to Philippines specifically to meet relatively unknown brand ambassador candidate, was unprecedented sa SWATCH history. At first clear sign na this wasn't ordinary business transaction. At when that meeting actually happened 2 weeks later sa private room ng Makati Hotel, ang conversation between Swiss billionaire CEO at Filipino half-brother ng boxing legend would trigger emote, ayonal breakthrough na nobody anticipated, at revelation kung ano talaga ang naghappen sa private meeting na yon, would explain completely kung bakit si Nick Hayek Jr. ended up crying publicly sa launch event. Noong Hunyo 5, 2025, alas 2 ng hapon, sa private conference room ng Peninsula Manila Hotel, naganap ang most unusual business meeting sa SWATCH history. Si Nick Hayek Jr., CEO ng Swatch Group worth approximately $6 billion, personally flew 16 hours from Zurich to Manila specifically para makipag-meet kay EMAN Bacosa, 28-year-old na walang established celebrity career, walang massive social media following compared sa major stars, and whose primary claim to fame was being half-brother ng Manny Pacquiao, fact na, for most of his life was source ng pain rather than pride. Present sa meeting were only 4 people: Nick himself, Patricia Santos, Swatch Philippines Marketing Director, EMAN, at one translator, although hindi naman talaga kailangan, kasi both Nick and EMAN spoke English fluently. Ang physical setting was deliberately intimate, hindi big conference table, kundi comfortable lounge setup with sofas, coffee table, relaxed atmosphere. Si Nick specifically requested this, ayaw niya ng formal corporate setting. When EMAN walked in, wearing simple but neat casual business attire, dark jeans, white button-down shirt, leather shoes, si Nick stood up personally to shake his hand, surprising everyone kasi usually CEOs of his level let others come to them. EMAN, thank you for coming. I've been looking forward to this conversation, sabi ni Nick, genuine warmth sa boses that Patricia had never heard before in 10 years working with him. Si EMAN, obviously nervous meeting billionaire CEO na literal na nag-travel across world specifically para sa kanya, managed respectful smile. Sir Nick, thank you po for this opportunity. I'm honestly still shocked na nandito kayo personally. They sat down, and instead of immediately launching into business discussion about campaign details or contract terms, si Nick surprised everyone by saying, "Before we talk about the campaign, I want to understand your story better. I've read reports, seen videos, but I want to hear directly from you. Tell me, what was it like growing up knowing Manny Pacquiao was your father but not being able to claim him publicly?" The question was deeply personal, far beyond normal business discussion. Si EMAN paused, clearly not expecting this direction. "Sir, honestly po, it was complicated. From young age, alam ko na siya father ko. Hindi secret within our family. But publicly, hindi acknowledged. When you're kid watching him on TV, seeing him celebrated everywhere, being called national hero, pero you can't say that's my dad. That creates confusion, pain, questions about self-worth." Nick leaned forward, completely engaged. "How did you handle that emotionally? Many people would become bitter, resentful. But from everything I've seen, you handled it with remarkable grace." EMAN thought carefully before responding. "I won't lie and say I never felt bitter. There were times, especially as teenager, nagalit ako, felt abandoned, felt like I wasn't good enough to acknowledge. But my mother, she kept reminding me na situation wasn't about my worth as person. It was complicated adult circumstances. She taught me na you can't control how others treat you, pero you can control how you respond. You can become bitter and let it destroy you, or you can focus on building yourself regardless. And you chose the latter," Nick said softly. "Even when you were finally acknowledged publicly, even when Pacquiao family initially didn't welcome you warmly, you maintained dignity. Never spoke bitterly in interviews, never demanded anything, just quiet strength. That's rare, especially at your age." EMAN looked directly at Nick. "Sir, honestly, I learned na begging for acceptance from people who don't want to give it is humiliating. I'd rather earn respect through my own actions than demand it because of DNA. And eventually, respect comes. Maybe not from everyone, pero from people who matter and from yourself." At that moment, something shifted in Nick's expression. People in the room noticed his eyes becoming slightly watery, though he controlled it. "EMAN, can I share something personal? Throughout my career, I've dealt with similar dynamics. Different circumstances, pero similar emotional core. Growing up as son of Nicholas Hayek, everyone assumed everything I achieved was because of my father. Every success attributed to his shadow. People constantly questioned whether I earned my position or just inherited it. I spent decades working obsessively to prove I was legitimate leader in own right, not just son of legend." The parallel was suddenly clear to everyone in room. Swiss billionaire CEO at Filipino half-brother of boxing legend, completely different worlds. Completely different circumstances, pero fundamentally similar struggle with identity, legacy, and proving self-worth independent of famous father's shadow. EMAN, surprised by CEO's vulnerability, responded, "Sir, I think maybe that struggle never completely goes away. Even when you prove yourself repeatedly, there's always that voice questioning if you're enough separate from the connection. But that struggle also builds character that people who had everything handed to them never develop." "Exactly," Nick said, emotion clear in voice now. "And that character, that authenticity, that resilience, that's what SWATCH should represent. Not fake celebrity endorsement from someone who's never struggled, but real story from real person who knows what it means to build yourself despite challenges." Ang conversation continued for next 2 hours. Far beyond scheduled 1-hour meeting. They discussed everything. Eamon's childhood memories, his relationship with mother, how he felt watching Manny's fights on TV knowing that was his father, how he reacted when DNA test publicly confirmed what he always knew, how he handled initial rejection from Pacquiao family, how he built his own modest career and life without demands or entitlement. But they also discussed Nick's own journey. Pressure of living up to legendary father, constant scrutiny from industry, moments of doubt, what it meant to lead company with 18 brands and 50,000 employees worldwide while always being compared to his father's legacy. Ang conversation became deeply personal therapy session rather than business meeting. At one point, si Nick asked, "Eman, when Swatch chose you as brand ambassador, what was your first reaction?" Eman laughed slightly. "Honestly, sir, I thought it was joke or mistake, kasi I'm not big celebrity. I don't have millions of followers. Companies usually pick established stars, not someone like me, a relatively unknown. When Patricia called me, I actually asked, 'Are you sure you have right person?' And that humility," Nick said. "That's precisely why you're right person. You understand that this isn't about fame or ego. It's about representing something authentic." He paused, then continued, "Eman, I'm going to be direct with you. Half of my management team opposed choosing you. They wanted established celebrity, safer choice, proven commodity. I overruled them not because of business analytics, but because your story moved me personally. And I'm here today because I needed to confirm that you're real. Now this isn't manufactured image, pero genuine character." "And?" Eman asked quietly. "Am I real?" Nick smiled. Genuine emotion visible now. "Yes, you're real. And tama ang desisyon ko. You're going to be exceptional ambassador, not because you're famous, but because you're authentic. And that authenticity will resonate with people far more powerfully than any manufactured celebrity endorsement." By end of meeting, contracts were signed. But more significantly, unexpected friendship had formed between two men from completely different worlds who found common ground, a shared struggle with legacy, identity, and self-worth. As they stood to leave, si Nick did something completely unprecedented. He hugged Eman, not professional handshake pero genuine embrace, and whispered, "Thank you for reminding me why authenticity matters more than polish." Si Patricia Santos, watching this interaction, was absolutely shocked. In 10 years working with Nick Hayek Jr., never niya nakita ang CEO showing this level of personal emotion. This wasn't just business transaction anymore. This was personal mission for Nick, to champion someone whose story resonated with his own unresolved struggles. At when they left that hotel room and began planning for official launch event na magaganap 6 months later in December, nobody anticipated na ang emotional connection formed sa private meeting na yon would eventually result sa CEO breaking down publicly crying sa stage in front of hundreds of people, at ang video ng moment na yon would go viral at mag-spark national conversation to. Tungkol sa authentic representation, family dynamics, at healing through unexpected connections. During 6 months between June 2025, private meeting at December 2025, public launch event, relationship between Nick Hayek Jr. at EMAN Bacosa deepened sa way na shocked everyone in SWATCH organization. Traditionally, brand ambassadors sign contracts, do photo shoots, attend events, pero relationship remains purely professional at transactional. But si Nick treated Eman completely differently, more like mentee or younger brother than hired endorser. At ang unprecedented personal investment became topic of fascination at private gossip within company. Noong Hulyo 2025, 1 month after signing contract, si Nick invited Eman to Switzerland para personal tour ng Swatch headquarters at manufacturing facilities sa Biel, something never done for brand ambassadors before. Usually ambassadors receive products at do promotional work, pero they don't get insider access to corporate operations. Si Eman flew to Switzerland for a 5-day visit, at ang experience was eye-opening para sa kanya. Si Nick personally gave him complete tour ng watch manufacturing facilities, explaining intricate processes of Swiss watchmaking, history ng brand, design philosophy, quality control standards. Pero beyond business tour, they spent hours in personal conversations. Dinners at Nick's private residence, walks through Zurich, discussions about life, family, legacy, purpose. Ang relationship evolved far beyond professional arrangement into genuine mentorship dynamic, where Nick saw opportunity to guide someone facing similar struggles he experienced decades earlier. During one dinner conversation at Nick's home, overlooking Lake Zurich, they discussed Eman's relationship with Pacquiao family, which remained complicated despite public acknowledgement. "How are things with your father now?" Nick asked directly. Eman sighed. "Complicated, Perrin. We've had few conversations. He's cordial, respectful, but we don't have real father-son relationship. Too many years of distance, too much complicated history. Sometimes I wonder if we ever will." Nick shared his own experience. "My father and I, even though I grew up with him, worked alongside him for decades, we also had complicated relationship. He was genius, visionary, pero also demanding, critical, difficult. He never quite believed I could lead company at his level. Even when I became CEO, I felt his judgment. When he died in 2010, we had unresolved tensions. That's weight I carry." His voice cracked slightly, "So I understand longing for father's approval that may never fully come." Eman was moved by vulnerability. "Sir Nick, from outside perspective, you're massively successful CEO of global company. You've proven yourself beyond any doubt. Does that not give you peace now you succeeded on your own merits?" "Intellectually, yes," Nick replied. "But emotionally? That voice questioning if you're enough separate from father's shadow, that never completely silences. Which is why when I read your story I saw myself, and I thought, maybe I can help you navigate this in a way nobody helped me." Ang mentorship deepened from there. Nick began regularly checking in with Eman, video calls every 2 weeks discussing not just Swatch campaign pero life in general, how to handle public scrutiny, how to build authentic public image, how to maintain dignity when people constantly compare you to famous relative, how to separate self-worth from external validation. These weren't conversations between CEO and hired ambassador. These were conversations between mentor who wished someone had guided him at younger age and mentee grateful for guidance from someone who truly understood. Noong Agosto 2025, conflict arose within Pacquiao family na directly affected Eman. Jimuel Pacquiao, eldest legitimate son, made public social media post clearly throwing shade at Eman after Swatch announcement, implying Eman was leveraging Pacquiao name without earning it. Post went viral, creating negative media cycle. Eman was devastated. Just when he thought his relationship with Pacquiao family was improving, this public attack reopened wounds. Si Nick, when he learned about this, immediately called Eman. "I saw what happened. How are you handling this?" Eman admitted, "Honestly, sir, it hurts. I never asked to be in this situation. I never demanded anything from them. But I keep getting attacked for simply existing. Sometimes I wonder if accepting Swatch offer was mistake, if it just created more family conflict." Nick's response was firm pero compassionate. "Eman, listen to me carefully. Your worth isn't determined by whether your half-brother accepts you. Your dignity isn't dependent on their approval. You accepted Swatch offer because you earned it through your character and story, not because of DNA connection. Anyone who can't see that is revealing their own insecurity, not your inadequacy. Stand strong. This will pass, and you'll emerge stronger. That phone call gave EMAN resolve to not respond publicly to Jimuel's attack, to maintain his characteristic grace under pressure. And his dignified silence while Jimuel looked petty, won massive public support. Social media overwhelmingly sided with EMAN. Commenters praised his maturity. Jimuel eventually deleted post-facing backlash. But for EMAN, having Nick as steady voice of support during crisis was invaluable. Noong Setyembre to Nobyembre 2025, they worked intensively on SWATCH campaign. Series of photo shoots, video shoots, media interviews. Ang campaign concept was resilience, featuring stories of people who overcame challenges to build themselves. EMAN was centerpiece, pero campaign also featured other individuals with inspiring stories. Creative team, working directly with Nick's input, developed materials showcasing EMAN's authentic story without exploitation or sensationalism. But throughout process, Nick remained unusually involved. Typically, CEO delegates campaign execution to marketing teams. But Nick personally reviewed every photo, every video script, every interview talking point, ensuring narrative remained authentic and respectful. He was protective ng how EMAN was portrayed, insisting on dignity over drama. When marketing team suggested playing up conflict with Pacquiao family for attention, Nick shut it down immediately. We're not exploiting his pain for profit. We're honoring his resilience. Noong late Nobyembre, final planning for December 10th launch event began. Usually for Philippines market, regional executives attend events representing company. CEOs rarely attend country-specific launches unless absolutely massive market. But Nick announced he would personally attend Manila event. Unprecedented decision that sparked speculation within company. Marco Reyes, senior executive who originally opposed EMAN's selection, directly questioned Nick. Sir, with respect, why are you personally attending Manila launch? You've never attended country-specific events before. What makes this different? Nick's response was honest. Because this campaign represents something beyond business for me. It represents values that matter personally. Authenticity, resilience, proving yourself despite challenges. I want to be there to publicly support EMAN because he's shown courage that deserves recognition. But even Nick himself didn't fully anticipate how emotional the actual event would be. Leading up to December 10th, he prepared speech, professional, polished remarks about brand values, market strategy, partnership announcement, standard corporate presentation. But when actual moment came, when he stood on stage and looked directly at EMAN sitting front row, something unexpected happened. All the conversations they'd had over 6 months, all the personal vulnerabilities shared, all the parallel struggles discussed, everything rushed back. Suddenly, this wasn't CEO giving prepared remarks to hired ambassador. This was mentor recognizing mentee who represented healing of his own unresolved wounds. Validation that choosing character over credentials was right decision. Proof that authenticity triumphs over manufactured image. At yun ang moment na nag-trigger sa breakdown na naging viral. When carefully controlled CEO facade cracked completely, at genuine emotion poured out unfiltered, at when video ng that moment spread across social media with millions of views. People weren't just watching CEO praising brand ambassador. They were witnessing authentic human connection transcending corporate transaction. And the story behind that moment. 6 months of mentorship, shared struggles, unexpected friendship, would even truly be revealed through interviews that become one of most compelling narratives in recent Filipino pop culture. Ang gabi ng December 10, 2025 sa Makati Shangri-La Ballroom, approximately 300 guests were seated waiting for program to begin. Front rows contained media personalities, influential bloggers, entertainment journalists, fashion editors, social media influencers with millions of followers combined. Back rows had SWATCH executives, staff, retail partners, business associates. Lighting was professional event quality, cameras positioned strategically to capture every angle, live stream running simultaneously for online audience. At exactly 3:15 p.m., program began with opening video, beautifully produced 5-minute piece showcasing Swatch brand history, evolution from 1983, founding through 40-plus years of innovation, featuring iconic designs, celebrity collaborations, global impact. Followed by presentation from Patricia Santos introducing Resilience Campaign Concept, explaining strategic vision behind choosing authenticity over celebrity fame. Then at 3:40 p.m., moment everyone anticipated, EMAN BACOSA walked onto stage para sa personal introduction. Wearing custom-tailored black suit specifically designed by Swatch styling team with subtle watch-themed details, hair perfectly styled, confident pero humble demeanor, he received warm applause from audience who knew his story. He spoke for approximately 10 minutes, sharing his journey in carefully prepared pero authentically delivered remarks. Maraming salamat po sa lahat. Honestly, standing here today still feels surreal. 6 months ago, when Swatch first contacted me, I thought it was mistake. Kasi I'm not typical celebrity. I don't have millions of followers. I don't have blockbuster movies or hit songs. I'm just someone who's been trying to build a decent life despite complicated circumstances. Pause for effect. But what I learned through this process is that authenticity matters more than fame. That real stories resonate more powerfully than manufactured images, and that your worth isn't determined by who your relatives are, but by who you choose to be. Standing ovation. Emotional responses visible throughout audience. Social media already buzzing with clips. But the real moment was about to come. At 3:55 p.m., si Patricia Santos returned to stage para introduce special surprise guest. Ladies and gentlemen, we have someone very special joining us today. Someone who believed in this campaign vision from the beginning, who personally championed EMAN's selection, and who flew 16 hours from Switzerland specifically to be here with us. Please welcome CEO of Swatch Group, Mr. Nick Hayek Jr. Ang announcement caused surprised murmurs. Attendees didn't expect actual CEO to personally attend. As Nick walked onto stage, dressed in immaculate dark blue suit, Swiss precision evident in every detail, audience gave respectful applause. He approached microphone, smiled professionally at audience, then his gaze found Eman sitting front row, and something shifted in his expression. He began with prepared remarks. Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for being here today for this important launch. Swatch Group is proud to introduce our Resilience campaign, representing values that have defined our brand for over 40 years. Innovation, accessibility, authenticity. Standard corporate opening. His voice was steady, professional, controlled. When we began planning this campaign 9 months ago, we faced important decision about who would represent these values for Philippines market. Our team proposed many options, established celebrities, proven endorsers with massive followings, safe choices that would guarantee visibility. He paused, looked directly at Eman. But I pushed for different direction. I pushed for authenticity over fame, for real story over manufactured image, for EMAN BACOSA. His voice started wavering slightly. Few people noticed yet. When I first read about Eman's journey, growing up knowing Manny Pacquiao was his father but not being able to claim him publicly, being finally acknowledged pero initially rejected by family, handling everything with grace instead of bitterness, something resonated with me personally. Visible emotion creeping into voice now. Audience starting to notice something unusual happening. Because I understood that struggle, different circumstances but similar emotional core. I grew up in shadow of legendary father, constantly compared, constantly questioned whether I earned my position or inherited it, spending decades trying to prove myself separate from his legacy. His hand gripping microphone started shaking slightly, and I saw in Eman someone facing similar battle, proving your worth independent of famous relatives' shadow, maintaining dignity when people judge you based on circumstances you didn't choose, building yourself despite challenges that would break weaker people. Tears forming in his eyes now. Audience completely silent, sensing unprecedented moment unfolding. Cameras capturing everything. Live stream viewers watching in real time. Nobody expected this. Swiss CEO known for cold professionalism, visibly breaking down on stage. Over past 6 months, I've gotten to know EMAN personally. We've had many long conversations about legacy, identity, family dynamics, self-worth. And what I discovered is young man of exceptional character, humble despite growing fame, gracious despite painful history, strong without bitterness, authentic without pretense. Tears starting to roll down his face now. And I realized, tama ang desisyon ko. I made the right choice. Blessed siya. Blessed beyond just material success, pero blessed in character, in resilience, in dignity that money can't buy. Full breakdown now. Powerful CEO, crying openly on stage in front of 300 people and live streaming cameras. Patricia Santos stood backstage, hand covering mouth in shock. Nobody had ever seen Nick Hayek Jr. like this. In 40-year career, in hundreds of public appearances, never had he shown this level of emotion. I'm sorry, he said, voice cracking, wiping tears, pero not trying to hide them anymore. I didn't expect to become this emotional. But this campaign, this partnership, it represents something beyond business for me. It represents healing of wounds I didn't realize still hurt. It represents validation that authenticity triumphs over polish, that character matters more than credentials, that choosing based on values instead of metrics is not just right decision, pero transformative one. He looked directly at EMAN, who by this point had tears streaming down his own face, overwhelmed by unexpected public affirmation from man he'd come to respect as mentor. EMAN, thank you. Thank you for reminding me, reminding all of us, what real resilience looks like. Hindi resilience ng press releases and manufactured images, pero resilience ng living with dignity when circumstances are difficult, ng maintaining grace when others attack you, ng proving yourself through character when people doubt you. Standing ovation erupted, people crying throughout audience. Social media exploding in real time. Cheer Swatch CEO cries immediately trending, video clips already going viral, thousands of comments flooding in with shock and emotion. Within 30 minutes, major news outlets picking up story. Within 2 hours, 23 million views across platforms. Within 24 hours, international media covering story, Swiss CEO crying over Filipino brand ambassador, became global narrative about authentic human connection transcending corporate transactions. After Nick finished speech and left stage, he and EMAN embraced backstage. Long, genuine hug between mentor and mentee, between two men who found unexpected connection through shared struggle with legacy and identity. And photographers captured that moment too, and that image became iconic representation of campaign. And when later asked in interviews why he broke down so publicly, Nick would explain, I didn't plan it. I prepared professional remarks. But when I stood there looking at EMAN, 6 months of conversations and connection rushed back. I saw myself at his age, struggling with similar demons. And I saw him handling it with grace I wish I had possessed. That triggered something I couldn't control. Genuine emotion that I've suppressed for years in pursuit of professional image. And honestly, I'm not embarrassed. That moment was more authentic than any polished corporate speech could ever be. At ang impact ng moment na yon, extended far beyond marketing campaign. Sales of Swatch watches in Philippines increased 300% in 2 weeks following event. EMAN's own social media following grew from 80,000 to 2.3 million in 1 month. International media profiled both Nick and EMAN. Mental health advocates praised Nick for showing vulnerability, breaking stereotypes about male CEOs needing to appear emotionless. Family dynamics experts discussed parallels between their stories and broader issues of legacy, identity, validation. Pero most significantly, relationship between EMAN and Pacquiao family shifted. Seeing international CEO publicly affirming EMAN's character, seeing millions rally behind him, seeing undeniable proof that he possessed qualities worthy of respect independent of DNA. This changed perceptions. Jinky Pacquiao, who had been notably cold toward EMAN, reached out privately to congratulate him and suggest family dinner. Jimyol Pacquiao, who had thrown shade months earlier, posted public apology and praise. Even Manny himself called him on directly, first genuine father-son conversation they'd had in years, expressing pride and desire to build real relationship moving forward. And through all of this, Nick remained supportive mentor, regular check-ins, guidance on handling sudden fame, advice on navigating family dynamics, reminders to stay grounded and authentic. Their friendship deepened beyond SWATCH partnership into genuine lifelong connection, built on mutual respect and understanding. When asked 6 weeks after event what the experience taught him, EMAN reflected, "I learned that authenticity attracts authenticity. When you're genuinely yourself, flaws, struggles, vulnerabilities included, you create space for real connections." Nick didn't cry that day because of marketing strategy. He cried because real emotion demanded expression, and that authenticity resonated with millions of people because they're tired of fake polished images. They want real. They want human. They want proof that success and vulnerability can coexist. At Ion, more than campaign success, more than sales numbers, more than social media metrics, became lasting legacy ng moment when Swiss billionaire CEO cried publicly while praising Filipino brand ambassador, and millions of people watching realized that authentic human connection will always triumph over manufactured corporate perfection.